Markets continue to push higher, and is Peter Strzok lying? What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line. And before we get started, Sin City has become Sin City as Johnny Sin wins the World Championship of Poker this morning. Local guy from Evanston, Illinois, so pretty interesting. Picked up a cool $8 million. Anyways, last week markets were pretty much, working their way higher. As we said last week, we're not anxious. We would look at some opportunities to take a short position, as we do think we're nearing the peak here. But the dull market drift continues, and that's one thing you always have to be aware of, is you don't want to sell into a dull market, and the dull markets continue to drift. And I see no reason to believe that that's going to change anytime soon. I can give you all the reasons why it shouldn't happen, but the bottom line is it's happening. So why should we try to say that the market is wrong? Because one thing we know for sure, the markets are never wrong. Now, we saw the NASDAQ make a new high, and of course we have said here a couple of times that we expect, before the big selling starts, we expect to see NASDAQ get to 8,000. So that's what we might be looking for here, is a NASDAQ print of 8,000, which is not all that far away anymore. I mean, there's a chance that all the indices could make new highs here before it's all said and done. Again, slow drifting markets. The news flow doesn't matter. We are starting into earnings season. Now, we had earnings start on Friday. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, PNC. The earnings were okay, but they did not sparkle, and the stocks, of course, did not sparkle. They were all lower. Now, one of the things I think you want to look at here, and this is, I think, an important issue to think about, have the markets priced in these great earnings? I mean, they're expecting a 20% boost. So is that already priced in? And how much of a beat can we get and expect if they've already priced in about the maximum? Now, at this point, to me, it looks like the markets are priced for perfection. It doesn't mean that we won't get perfection. It just means that I think any company that misses in this quarter will get hammered. Now, if we start to get some of the big ones missing, they can get doubly hammered. Now, we got Netflix tomorrow, and of course, they got a downgrade on Friday, pushing the stock down to, oh my goodness gracious, a whole $16. Stock's gone from 100 to 500, so or 4 something. But in the meantime, we're not going to jump in the front of anything right here. This is a time, and this is one of the trading skills you need to learn, is the art of patience. The art of waiting. Remember, the markets are open 241 days a year, so why do we have to fight it today? Okay. Now, last week we saw interest rates continue to fall again. We're starting to see the inversion of the yield curve. If you've noticed, 2-year notes are about 2.7, 5 years are about 2.72, and the 10s are about 2.8. This curve is flattening. I don't care what anybody says, this is a horrible sign. Okay, now it's not such a bad sign for an investor. Sure, certainly a 2-year CD is not going to pay you 2.5%. So maybe you want to put it in 2-year notes. But again, the point is very simple. The inverting of the yield curve is not a good sign for the economy, which continues to show the cluelessness of the Federal Reserve and their inability and unwillingness to say, "Hey, we're going to raise rates here." Okay, rates should be higher. That's it. I don't care what the numbers say. Rates should be hiking here. It goes into the supply and demand of money, and of course we're seeing a lot of issues about that. But again, who am I? I'm not the Fed chair, but if I was, I'd be hiking rates right here. They're talking about no inflation. Well, I don't know. I know my bills go up every week, and you want to talk about gas and all the other things that we got to pay for, food. Notice as everything falls. As the grains fall with the worry of trade fears and trade wars and all this other stuff, which is BS, in my opinion, because I believe that when it's all said and done, this trade war will not be a trade war. This will be a boom to the United States and our economy, and we'll finally get rid of these dumb quotas and all these other tariffs that we deal with, and our American farmers will be able to ship whatever they want, wherever they want. And I think that's more of the free market, and I think hopefully with President Trump in place, that's what we'll end up with is the free market and the ability to ship and do things we want to do. But, you know, we see this constantly. This is not new. You know, the trade war part of it is new, but the markets are not new. The markets are going to trade the way they trade. But why haven't my food prices come down at the grocery store? Why have my beef prices not come at the grocery store? Well, I don't know. That's always the story, that they love to raise rates, the prices faster, and that's where there's inflation. And we have not gotten to the wage inflation yet, which is a brutal situation for employees. Okay, as companies continue to prosper and make a lot of money, okay, and as we see the economy possibly improving, the workforce hasn't seen the improvement yet. The wage growth is brutal. The wage growth is lousy, which is what the Fed is looking at is saying, well, there's no inflation. Well, again, there will be inflation in jobs as people start to switch jobs and as we start to see things. That will change. In the meantime, why would the Fed want to be ahead of the curve instead of behind it like they always are? I mean, they're always behind, and they're going to end up having to move too quickly, which is always the case. They have never once made the right decision, okay? Even going back to 2008, in my opinion, that was not the right decision. But we can talk about that another day. In the meantime, we saw the dollar once again try to make a push through 95. Failed, but closed right near the top there. Again, we're going to 97, then we're going to par. I don't think there's any question about that. I think when you look at what's going on, again, with the global economy, the problems in China, the fear with the shadow banking and all the issues that are going on in China, again, you don't get a straight story from China to begin with. Their currency does not free float. Okay, the renminbi or the yuan, whatever you want to call it, is not allowed to free float. It's manipulated and controlled by the government. So you can see that they're in grave danger there. And of course, they're in a bear market. Their markets, they've been going down since 2015. And it's only a matter of time before we follow suit. Again, I'm not saying it's tomorrow. I'm not telling you to get short now. I'm not telling you to sell everything. First of all, I'd never tell you to sell anything. I would tell you to hedge everything. And then you don't have to sell. But in the meantime, you can see that this is like a pressure cooker around the globe. Okay, but you've got right now whatever he wants to call the Goldilocks economy. And who is the Goldilocks economy really for? Well, it's really for big corporate America. That's who it's for. They're in the Goldilocks economy because they're making more money than ever and paying out less wages. So it's really just a whole pile of dog, you know, whatever. It's not the correct dynamics. But again, this is what happens, all right? And again, this is what causes the eventual problems because the Fed is too worried about big corporate America. Big corporate America is worried about themselves. And of course, with all the stock buybacks and everything else, the poor employees have not got the proper wage increases they should be getting to be participating in this overall model, in this overall business. And of course, crude oil, which we said we did get puked out a couple of weeks ago, but we did get back in. And of course, we said last week that we felt that 75 would be the top, and that has been proved to be the case. But I think the real interesting thing is, first of all, crude was down and actually traded almost down to 69 last week. Did rally a little bit on Friday, but again, we put no stock in that. I mean, there's going to be a rally when the market goes straight down. But I think the interesting thing, and as you know, right here in Bubba's Bottom Line, I warn you all the time about trying to trade or play the news, okay? That's a fool's game to try, unless you know ahead of time. You know, if you know the news before it's ever going to hit the tape, then that's a different story. That's inside information. But if you're trying to play the news once everybody else hears it, okay, and the best example in history may be the oil EIA number on Wednesday. Last Wednesday, they were expecting a 3 million barrel drawdown of supply, okay? So that's one side. That's been part of the bullish case for oil. They got a 12 million drawdown barrel a day from the draw. 12 million barrels draw versus 3. Okay, now you would have thought that would have sent the oil markets flying to the moon. Okay, because if everybody's so bullish oil and everything's so great, you couldn't ask for a more bullish scenario for oil. Yet, after a brief jump up to almost even on the day, it closed down almost $4 on the day. Now the oil bulls are still touting to buy the oil stocks and to do all this stuff with oil. I say, my opinion, that oil is done. Okay, oil is cooked as a French fryer at McDonald's. All right. Now again, it doesn't mean there won't be a rally here and there, but I don't think we're going. There's been calls for 80, 100. Again, the same BS calls that get made all the time of nonsense. All right, the same people that call for $10,000 gold. Of course, gold can't get past $1250 as it turns out, and gold has come to a real crucial level here. And I think one of the things you got to want, and one thing that doesn't make sense when I look at the gold market, obviously the pattern makes sense. It's going down, all right? But, the physical gold, to me, there seems to be a shortage of physical gold, okay? There's way too much paper gold out. I don't believe that there's enough physical to satisfy the paper. If everybody took their paper gold and claimed and wanted to redeem, I don't think there's enough gold. But what really doesn't make sense as well about the gold markets is that why they continue to go down under certain circumstances when it should be going up. So there's something going on here. It's kind of like that once gold hit, I think April 11th, gold hit its recent high at 1369, and we've been basically just pummeled ever since. And here, to me, this 1235 to 1240 level is the major key level that if it doesn't hold here, it's going under 1200. That's my opinion. Okay, but it could hold here. I mean, I do have a small long position in some options. Okay, like I said, full disclosure. But to me, okay, there's something wrong here, right? Something smells. It doesn't look right, and that's really what we have to focus on. Is why is it continue to go down? So I can make a bullish case. I can give you support, the whole thing, but for some reason it keeps going lower. So it's not a real pretty picture. It's not a great item to be jumping in here unless you want to hold. Now again, if you're a buyer, if you're a long-term investor in gold, and you just want to buy some physical, I never have a problem with that. But there seems to be a problem. It's almost the same as we talked about in the grain markets. No matter what, they just keep drifting down. They had a bullish report on Thursday, had a little bit of a pop, yet Friday, down in the toilet again. I think soybeans are getting to a point that, where it just looks brutal, which to me would probably be a time to start buying. We talked about this when soybeans were over 10. We kept warning that if it couldn't hold over 10, we were concerned and that they could go down into the 8s, and here they are down the 8s. Now again, you can blame any reason that you want that it's down here, but it doesn't matter. It's down here right now. We're buyers. We're buyers of grains. We're buyers of livestock. We're sellers of oil. We're kind of hanging around with gold right now. I mean, right now, we own a little bit, but not, again, from a trading standpoint, not a lot to do here. And of course, Bitcoin continues to be, rather dull. The cryptos are rather dull with the way that they've been trading lately. We think it's a great opportunity to buy. We think it's a great place to start stepping in. Again, I don't want you to take all your money. I'm saying take a couple of percentage points, 2-3% of what you're investing, and put it in some of these cryptocurrencies. It's kind of a crapshoot if you can get the right one. But it's very similar to the internet bubble, and everybody's trying to talk it down, which to me is just another reason that it's going to go much higher. But there's a lot of things going on, but the overall markets in general, as I said, they look like they could go to new highs unless there's some fundamental news bomb. I mean, there's some trouble in Israel, in the Gaza Strip right now. There's been some bombing going on over the weekend. We know that President Trump is meeting with Putin tomorrow. We saw what happened with the NATO meeting. So there could be a fundamental news bomb that could create some massive fear. So far, we haven't seen it. And if we go back to last year, between the nuclear bombings from North Korea, between all the other issues, nothing has derailed the market. So I don't expect anything to derail the market yet. As long as the VIX remains so low and continues to get pounded, the markets are going to continue to drift high. Why? Because complacency is king right now. And of course, we know eventually that it will end, but not today. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. We're going to step out here for a break. We'll be right back with more of Bubba's Bottom Line after the break. Todd Bubba Horowitz, we're coming right back to you. What's up, everybody? Remember to please check out our high school investing program, highschoolinvesting.com. We're trying to get into our 9th year, and we're running out a little bit of capital. And again, I have funded it myself for the last 9 years, and just got another bill for about 30 grand to get it going again this year. And I need some help from you. And if you want to help us out at Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading, you can please do so. Thanks to those of you who have helped so far. It helped us get through last year. Now we got to get through this year. So if you want to help the youth of America, please go to patreon.com/Bubba Trading. In the meantime, don't forget to catch the Bubba Show every day from 4 to 5 Eastern Time at libertytalk.fm. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line right now. Welcome back, everybody. And here we are back at Bubba's Bottom Line. And, of course, we had some things going on the Hill last week with Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, and that will be obviously in my commentary. So I'll address that in a bit here. But I think that, you know, what we're seeing here is we've learned to ignore just about everything. Okay. Now, as we're starting to see things come out with Rod Rosenstein, you know, why is he still in position? Why is he still doing this job? You know, there's a lot of stuff that is going on that just doesn't make sense. And he should be out of that office. I think that we've seen a corrupt, I don't know if corrupt is the right word, but a misled FBI from these guys. And I think that there's a problem. And that one big question is where was President Obama throughout all this? He was in office. Where was he when all this was going on? Just a question. I mean, again, I'm not accusing. I'm just asking. I think it's a general question, and I think it's one that should get an answer. Is where was President Obama when all this was going on? So, you know, we'll see how that plays out. But at the end of the day, you know, I had some interesting stories from last week, and you know, some of the people that trade, you know, there's obviously different brokerage firms, and you know, sometimes when we're trading, I will tell my guys, my people, say, hey, maybe you want to take assignment here. We'll create a synthetic position. And one of my guys got really screwed. I'm not going to mention the brokerage firm because I don't want to get under any legal ramifications, but somebody got assigned, but they didn't get exercise, which was wrong because it was an automatic exercise based on the exchange of the rules. And of course, the brokerage says, well, we'll give you some free trades to make up for the $1,000 that you lost. And I said, that's BS. Okay, they should give you the money. It has to be made good. In the meantime, I recommended that they go to a regulatory body and say, hey, this is the problem. And the brokerage firm told them to basically go scratch. Okay, which is, you know, again, when you're dealing with a lot of these people, you're dealing with people that don't really care about who you are and what they did because they feel that they can muscle you. This is one of the things I always talk about the regulatory body when they only go after the small guys. The big guys, they say, screw you. And that's really a problem. And I'm wondering, and I always wonder, okay, you know, there's a product out there, the VXX, okay, which is supposed to be an ETF of the volatility index. Now, again, I use it for very short-term trading. It's nothing you could ever use for any long-term because really the stock itself, like all these other leveraged ETFs, you know, these big leveraged, 3-time leveraged, are all crooked, phony products. Okay, I'll say it. You heard me, because they decay like options, and they go down 50%. They have to rally 100% to get back to even, but they actually have to rally more because they work on a multiplier. It's a real, to me, this will be my opinion, it's a scam, okay? It's something that somebody figured out that they can charge all these fees because if you ever looked at what the original value of capitalization was and you look today, you'll see it's a lot less. But the VXX is only a product you can use for a couple of days or a week if you decide that you want to make a trade on volatility. And again, you have to understand that before you can actually use that product, because you will find yourself in a big pile of dung if you don't. Okay. Now, you know, we talked a little bit about inflation. Now, again, if you understand how they calculate inflation, they're calculating inflation on stoves, refrigerators, things you buy every 10 years. Again, not to me, it doesn't work. Now, you've heard over the last few weeks, and we addressed it earlier today, about the yield curve. Okay, the yield curve has actually signaled every recession. Okay, now again, I'd still question to me whether we've actually ever come out of the recession throughout everywhere. Yes, there's some states that are in great shape, but there are a lot of places that are still struggling, like Illinois, where I live. Okay, California. So obviously the wealthy there are doing great. Of course, they're exiting because they don't want, they can't seem to understand why there's so much tax being charged. And that's a question I have is these big states, Illinois, Texas, not Texas, excuse me. I don't want to criticize Texas. They're in great shape. California, Illinois, New York, they charge the most tax on everything and they're always broke. What is wrong with that picture? Okay. It doesn't make sense to me, which is even a bigger problem that I don't understand and how this is ever going to work itself out. Whereas Texas, they're fiscally sound as can be, don't have any issues, and they don't charge state tax, okay, which is why people go there. So again, there's a lot of issues out here that are just not making sense. But when we get back to why we're in an issue here, because the economy is slowing, which is why we're seeing this ridiculous, we'll call it a backwardation in rates, okay? And when the twos invert, okay, and we start to see twos are paying a bigger rate than tens, that is not healthy for any economy. And I think this is something that, again, we continue to ignore it, all right? The powers that be continue to ignore it. It's amazing how the TV announcers or the anchors or the pundits, they want to slough it off and they want to create the fear about the trade wars. They want to create the fear about this, okay? Or they want to talk about how great Amazon is doing, which is, Amazon is doing great. But my question is, why is it that they never want to tell the other side of the stories, okay? Obviously, they do things to drive and peddle fear because that's what keeps the viewers coming back. I find that to be an embarrassment, and I find that to be very troubling because many people will make their investing decisions based on what a news anchor or a pundit might say. And to me, you need to report both sides of the story if you want to go ahead and be in that business. We hear often that they complain that this network is left, this network is right. But when it comes to reporting things about markets, they're always creating the fear side and not the positive side. And I think that is insulting, number one, because I think in today's world, people should get both sides. It's not like we used to be where you get the paper in the morning, you can only look at the quotes once a day. I mean, people are watching their 401ks every 5 minutes. So I think that that you have issues. Now, another thing that I've noticed is you've got a lot of commentators and a lot of people are now saying that we're in a stealth bull market, which means it's never going down again. We are hearing again the terms that this time is different. Now, first of all, again, I'm not telling you the market's going down tomorrow, next week, or next year. I don't know when they're going to go down. I know with 100% certainty that they're going down. 100% certainty. When is the question? Okay, it's like I know with 100% certainty that someday I'm going to drop dead. Okay, that's 100%. The only question is when will that happen? But my real point is that I believe that a lot of these pundits and advisors, they work on commission. Okay, so they make their most money when you are invested in the market. So why wouldn't they want to tell you that it's a stealth bull market so they can get you fully invested into a market? And then they can roll you when they decide that, well, maybe this isn't what they think it is. So now we can get you into another product. And I always wondered the importance. I don't think that we should be trying, if we were smart enough to know when it was a risk on, risk off market, then why would we ever have to worry about anything? I think that the way it is, and the way that I teach it, is that you get hedged to what you got, and you don't have to worry about it. You've built your own safety net. You've built your own bond portfolio. So I don't have to listen to these pundits and these advisors telling me that we're in a stealth bull market and we're never going down again. And this time is different because of this, this, and this. Okay, this is no different than any other market that we've seen in the history of the world. It happens all the time, just like China before 2015. That time it was different, but I guess not, because now they're in a bear market. Again, the emerging markets, it was different. I guess not. They're down about 30%. So again, when we will go down, I can't tell you, nor would I try to tell you. When I have an idea, I will tell you. I will share it as I do every day on Bubba's Daily Update. But right now, my black swan event is very simple. It's going to be a rising fast dollar with rising rates because I'm confident, and if I could bet, maybe I'll call it Ladbrokes, if I could bet against the Fed and what they're going to do, I think I could win that bet because they will be the eventual creator of the black swan, because they don't know how to exit what they're doing, because all they understand is theory and not real world business. And if you put them out in the middle of nowhere, they would never find their way home. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz. We're going to stop by a break and come back with my commentary after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. Okay, everybody. It's almost the new school year is coming. We've got about 600 high schools that we're in, and we're trying to get into more, but we're actually trying to pay for the ones we're in right now because the schools get our program at no cost. Okay? We have no revenue source. It's strictly my money so far, and some of you who have helped in the past, and I certainly appreciate it, at patreon.com/Bubba Trading. That's our high school investing program. We're trying to educate the youth of America so my kids and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, long after I'm dead, won't have to go through the same economic mess, because most of this could be created before that. Anyways, make sure you check it out, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. And don't forget the Bubba Show every day at 4 to 5 Eastern at LibertyTalk.fm. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary. Welcome back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary. And I got to tell you something. As an American, you have to be one embarrassed citizen if you watched the House deal with this Peter Strzok investigation. First of all, Peter Strzok, in my opinion, lied. He was obnoxious. He was just not, to me, not somebody that I would want to represent me. I think he lied. I think that he misled us. Again, my opinions. I think that he was totally arrogant about the whole thing, like, you can't touch me, okay? And he used the FBI to say, well, they won't let me say this, they won't let me say this. And I just think that it was a total sham, which many of these investigations are. And to that point, now, this is not a left or right issue. In this case, it was the left. But the right is no better. The first thing I hate is when the Congress or the House comes up and they say, well, thank you. If they're on the left, they kiss his ass, okay? And they say, thank you for appearing and blah, 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 blah. And if they're right, they're very hardcore, they're against them. But I think that the embarrassment is the outrage and the disruptions that were going on between many of the left people on the left side of the House that brought up these ridiculous things. They want to bring Bannon back in. Motion, it's not the proper, you could, if you watched it, it was an embarrassment to what the system should be. And I find that this Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, who did not show for her first subpoena, to be very much at fault here. The text that they send, and you can tell me it was out of context all you want, which is what he continued to say. You put it down in writing. It just shows you how dumb you are to put it down in a text. I guess everybody thinks that they're immune to ever being caught by anything, okay? But first of all, the questions, okay, this goes for both sides. The questions from the right in this particular case are very drill down and really go after them. The ones from the left were softballs, okay? Now, again, that changes depending on who's there. And again, I'm not defending either party, nor am I in total. I'm always in criticism of both parties, because I think that both parties are not doing the job intended. I think that this Peter Strzok should be in jail. I think that the whole system needs to be revamped. I think somewhere along the road, we took the wrong turn, and we have now created, as we've heard many times, the deep state, okay? Again, if you don't think that things like that go on, you need to think again. There's a lot of things going on, and it's because of these jackasses that represent us, okay? Because they don't represent our best interests, okay? That's the real problem, okay? They represent their own best interests, and I think that's a bigger problem. And that's why we, as citizens, need to get out there and vote when elections come up to replace the people that are torturing us with their protocol and their rhetoric and everything that they do. Because to me, it doesn't appear that anybody has our best interest except for one person. President Donald Trump seems to have the best interest of the American people at heart. And I think that this is things that need to be resolved, which goes with the FBI. I mean, what do we see on the FBI? Rosenstein, Comey, Strzok, and who else is behind all this stuff? Okay? So to me, there's a lot of issues that need to be dealt with here. And hopefully we will get these issues eventually resolved. But it's a sad state of affairs when you see an embarrassment like you saw, I think it was Wednesday, when Strzok was testifying, his arrogant self, okay, refusing to answer any question, but then the embarrassment of the people, the guys and gals in the House that were chirping. It took 2 hours to do nothing, which is really wasting the taxpayers' money for nonsense. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz. As always, I thank you for being a part of the show. We'll see you back here with Bubba's Daily Update tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next time. Bubba's Bottom Line. Take care, everybody.